Of course, everyone knows he sings. He can sing very beautifully, very greatly inspired. But I'd never heard him sing as beautifully as he did that one time. I'd heard him sing many, many times in many temples, but I'd never heard him sing as beautifully as this. I felt very honored to hear it, very privileged. It was beautiful. When he was done, he was just up and said, "Let's go now." Prabhupada also chanted one chapter of Bhagavad Gita daily for 18 days. Anywhere Bhagavad Gita is chanted, he said that place becomes the Tirtha, a holy place. Purushottam reported to the devotees in the United States these activities of Srila Prabhupada. He's singing prayers a lot, and much of it is being recorded. I must admit that the tapes of songs and prayers he's making now are the best ones I have ever heard. Wait until you hear them when we get back. As the Bhagavatam says, drink deep this nectar, O men of piety, and you shall be taken from this mortal frame. The women cooking for Prabhupada were serving him American desserts, apple pie, donuts, glazed cookies. Prabhupada would smile, but he would only nibble at his dessert. One afternoon he said, "These sweets are very nice, but no one has made me sandesha. None of the devotees knew how to make Bengali sweets, so Prabhupada took them into the kitchen and taught them to make sandesh. Although they had watched carefully, their first attempt produced sandesh that was dry and grainy. But Prabhupada accepted it, preferring the sandesh here, which Krishna himself used to eat, to the Western confections. For the devotees at Tittenhurst, to have Prabhupada living among them was again to witness Krishna's pure devotee as he engaged constantly in ecstatic devotional service with his body, mind, and words. They could see how Prabhupada was speaking and acting in Krishna consciousness at every moment, and his presence confirmed that the most exalted platform of pure devotional service was a reality. His disciples felt bliss and renewed determination just being with him. Prabhupada's host, John and Yoko, had also had the valuable opportunity to be near Prabhupada, although they chose to keep apart. Remaining together in their own world, they mingled very rarely with the devotees. Prabhupada's men continued to work under John's managers, and John was content to let the Swami and his entourage stay. When the head gardener asked John how to treat the devotees, he said, "Let them please themselves." On hearing of certain activities in the main house, Prabhupada commented about the bad influence women sometimes have on men. But he kept out of John and Yoko's affairs. He had his own affairs in Krishna consciousness. Having been whisked from the airport to Tittenhurst, Prabhupada had seen a little of London, and one day he asked Sham Sundar to take him on the tour of the city. Prabhupada had grown up in British Calcutta, hearing London praised as the seat of Britain's world empire. So when he saw how small many of London's historic landmarks were, he was particularly surprised. At Buckingham Palace, he remarked, "We have many houses in Calcutta bigger than this." The Thames, celebrated in the writings of British authors he had studied in college, was a disappointment also. "It's a canal," he says. "It's only a canal." In my mind, I thought it was bigger than the Ganges. But the most interesting sight was the building at 7 Bury Place. City officials had recently granted the devotees permission to occupy the temple. That part of the battle was won. Now Sham Sundar and his few helpers had to finish the remodeling. On seeing the temple's location near the British Museum and Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, Srila Prabhupada became even more anxious that Sham Sundar fixed an opening date as soon as possible. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we can begin reading our verse today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, verse 5, chapter 5, verse number 24. Jai. So we'll begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punyashravana Hridiyantasto hi abhadrani vidhunoti suhitsatam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shlokir Bhakti bhavati naishtikir Dhrita tanur ushati me purani Ye neha satvam paramam pavitram Shamodama satyam anugrahascha तपस्तितिक्षानुभवश्च यत्र धृता तनुरुशति मे पुराणी येनेह सत्वं परमं पवित्रं शमोदमा सत्यम् अनुग्रहश्च तपस्तितिक्षानुभवश्च यत्र धृता तनुरुशति मे पुराणी येनेह सत्वं परमं पवित्रं शमोदमा सत्यम् अनुग्रहश्च तपस्तितिक्षानुभवश्च यत्र. Are there any volunteers who would want to recite this verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am trying.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
Dhritatanu me purani yeneha sattam paramam pavitram samodamaha sattam anugrahascha tapastitikshanubhavascha yatraha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Mataji, I have done with pranam.
Jita tanurushati me purani yeneha sattvam paramam pavitram samodamaha satyam anugrahascha tapastitikshanubhavascha yatra. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I will recite.
Yes.
Titratanu usati me purane yena sattvam parmam pavitram samadama satyam anugrahascha tapastitishcha anubhavascha yatra. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam Mataji.
Dhrita tanur ushati me purani yeneha sattvam paramam pavitram samodamaha satyam anugrahascha tapastitikshanubhavascha yatra. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay, then we can move now to synonyms and translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dhrita, maintained by transcendental education. Tanuhu, body. Ushati, free from material contamination. Me, my. Purani, eternal. Yena, by whom. Iha, in this material world. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Paramam, supreme. Pavitram, purified. Shamaha, control of the mind. Damaha, control of the senses, Satyam, truthfulness, Anugraha, mercy, Cha, and Tapaha, austerity, Titiksha, tolerance, Anubhavaha, realization of God and the living entity, Cha, and Yatra, when, wherein. Translation: the Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattvaguna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. Purport. This is a true description of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has assimilated the Vedic conclusions by practicing mind and sense control. He speaks the true version of all the Vedas. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaischa sarver aham eva vedyaha. By studying all the Vedas, one should come to understand the transcendental position of Lord Sri Krishna. One who actually assimilated the essence of the Vedas can preach the truth. He is compassionate to conditioned souls who are suffering the threefold miseries of this conditional world due to their not being Krishna conscious. A Brahmana should take pity on the people and preach Krishna consciousness in order to elevate them. Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally descends into this universe from the spiritual kingdom to teach conditioned souls about the values of spiritual life. He tries to induce them to surrender unto him. Similarly, the Brahmanas do the same thing. After assimilating the Vedic instructions, they assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls. The Brahmanas are very dear to the Supreme Lord due to their high sattvagun qualities. And they also engage in welfare activities for all conditioned souls in the material world. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदामयं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वीरकृष्णदास गोस्वामिनिति नामिने Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I'll read the translation one more time. The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Gun. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Shama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice the penance, the pasya, and tolerance, the diksha, and they realize the position of the living entity and the Supreme Lord Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas. This is such a wonderful verse, and this is from the description where the glories of Brahmanas are being described from verse 21. So this chapter is Rishabdev's teachings to his sons, and the chapter being divided into different sections. The first section being the importance of human life. Then we discussed about ending the transmigration cycle and then cutting through the knots of the illusion. We also discussed about the responsibilities of leaders, of a leader, and then from verses 19 and 20, we discussed the Lord and his devotee in one family, where we know that Lord Rishabdev is the Lord himself. So the Lord says that the Lord instructs that in order to teach how to serve Brahmanas, Lord Rishabdev here establishes them as the best among people. And here we learn about the glories of Brahmanas. So verse 21 discussed about the gradations of living entities and their superiority of Brahmanas. And yesterday, we discussed, not yesterday, day before, we discussed about I eat through Brahmanas' mouths. I don't find anyone comparable to the Brahmanas, and I derive more pleasure from food offered through their mouths than the food offered in the sacrificial fire. This verse is also divided into 2 sections. Section 1 talks about the first part of it. The Brahmanas support my body in this world in the form of the Vedas. And then the 8 qualities of Brahmanas are discussed here. So the 8 qualities are Sattvam Paramam, which means they are situated, the Brahmanas are situated in the purest Sattva Guna. Shama, who are fixed in mental control. Dhamma, sense control. Satya, truthfulness. Anugraha, mercifulness. Merciful in preaching, and taking out or executing the purpose of the Vedas. then tapasya, austere, and titiksha, tolerance or tolerant, anubhava, and they have realized the position of the jiva and the Lord. So, in this verse, we learn about the perfect Brahmanas. So, who are Brahmanas? Rishabdev here is teaching about the qualities of Brahmanas here in this verse. And not only in this verse, we have learned that in many of the verses in Bhagavad Gita, as well as in Srimad Bhagavatam, which I may touch upon today here. So, these verses actually emphasize how a Brahmana can be identified. This, if I have to talk about this, the context of this verse, it talks about how a Brahmana can be identified and or known by these qualities. So, we often understand that taking initiation as a Brahmana, we don't just become a Brahmana. Brahmana becoming, so if we are talking about Brahmana Diksha or being born in the Brahmana family or acquiring or receiving a thread, um, we we are not qualified to call ourselves to be a Brahmana, and that is not the right path as well. So Rishabh Dev here establishes he establishes that the Brahmanas must possess some qualities, and to be able to call a Brahmana, they must have these qualities. How? Because Brahmanas are the topmost among the living entities, and Brahmana qualities are the topmost, and that's how Krishna protects, and that's how Krishna protects them, and that's how Krishna is. Um, Brahmanas are most dear to Krishna. So, in disguise, it is being discussed that perfect Brahmanas are the Vaishnavas. So the Vaishnavas are described here. So what is being discussed here? Is it the change of the Varnashram system from uh, Shudra, Vaishya, or moving up to Brahmana? Or is it the change of the consciousness? So basically, we are learning about the change of the consciousness. In chapter 18, verse number 42, uh, Krishna describes here, I'll share the screen again. He uses the same verses, Shamo Damas Tapa Shocham Shantir Arjavam Evacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. So peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So, by which the Brahmanas work. What are they working about? Where are they working? What are they doing? So the same qualities are being taught here again by Lord Rishabdev, which Krishna taught to Arjuna. Lord Rishabdev is teaching to his sons. So one must try and develop these qualities. Why? Because these qualities are conducive to the progressive path of Krishna consciousness. So if we often get confused with the varnashram system, and we often consider it to birth, class, race, gender, but it can be understood, it must be understood from the psychophysical nature of someone as to what mode of nature they are more inclined to. And mode of nature, the material mode of nature can be sattva, rajas, and tamas. And it is not that anyone can be in pure goodness or pure passion or pure ignorance. Most of us are, or in fact, living entities are in the mix of goodness, passion, and ignorance, but in different quantities and qualities. So there'll be a mix of three because they are the necessary modes to live in this material world and to be able to feel the senses, to be able to exist in this world. So the higher the level of goodness, the more conducive it is to the change of our consciousness. Now, having this change of our consciousness, we would mean um, from until we come to the mode of goodness, it's very difficult to be moving up to pure goodness. So, our consciousness towards purity from goodness transforms from goodness to pure goodness. It is not possible to be um, going from ignorance to pure goodness. It is not a possible thing. So, in that case, Krishna consciousness gives us that conducive environment by chanting our rounds and by following the regulative principles and attending temple programs, associating with the like minded devotees who are constantly conversing or having conversations about the Lord. These are the signs to become fully Krishna conscious. Now, Krishna conscious is not basically waiting for the Varnashram system to move us from um, any person without any qualifications can begin progressing towards Krishna consciousness. So basically, uh, Krishna consciousness is what we're talking about here. Is the person in pure Krishna consciousness is a true Brahmana. We can say it this way. So basically, the perfect Brahmanas who are Vaishnavas are described in this verse. So therefore, if we see ISKCON, for example, is not just a Hindu or it's not coming from only from India, or it's not belonging to only one group of people. So it is taken up by people of all races, all cultural backgrounds, all all sorts and all walks of life. And what is the key to this process? What is the key to Krishna consciousness process? The key to Krishna consciousness process is sadhana. So in chapter 18, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 18 of the same canto, we learn how Krishna is giving us this key. Uh, we understand that these qualities will manifest and we have to trust and focus on the process. So, uh, in this chapter, the residents of Jambudvip, when they are offering prayers, the demigods and their exalted qualities. I'm reading the text from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, and this is text number 12. These qualities will manifest, and we have to trust the process. This is in short, I'm trying to tell by reading the translation and a little bit of purport. All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? So, here we're talking about the living entities who uh, who are the topmost, the ones who have developed the unalloyed devotion towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has uh, developed uncontaminated and unmixed. And they're incomparable to anybody. And Krishna here says that these Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Thakur, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, says that all good qualities become manifest in the body of a Vaishnava and that only by the presence of these qualities can one be distinguished as a Vaishnava from a non-Vaishnava. And these 26 good qualities of Vaishnava are: he is very kind to everyone. He does not make anyone his enemy. He is truthful. He is equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. He is magnanimous. He is mild. He is always clean. He is without possessions. He works for everyone's benefit. He is very peaceful. He is always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very meek. He is steady. He controls his senses. He does not eat more than required. He's not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. He offers respect to everyone. He does not desire any respect for himself. He is grave. He is merciful. He is friendly. He is poetic. He is expert. And the 26th quality, he is silent. So these qualities basically manifest in a person uh, who 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 is a Vaishnava or who is a top class Brahmana. So, and since these qualities and the person will manifest, they're quite interdependent. The person or the qualities, they're very interdependent. So when pure devotional service, when there's a desire to do pure devotional service, uh, this when the or let's put it in this word in this way, when the desire to do the devotional service takes place in the heart, when the desire takes place in the heart, these qualities will manifest. And when these qualities manifest, the transformation begins of a person becoming or coming to the pure goodness platform. So if one does not become a Vaishnava, then how is he in the process of Krishna consciousness? We are not in the process of Krishna consciousness yet, because if we are not fully Krishna conscious, or because there's some alloyedness, or I don't know if I've used this word grammatically correct, but unalloyed means without mixing. Alloyed means mixed. So because we have mixed desires, because we've mixed half-hearted desires of doing our spiritual activities alongside material activities, which is not wrong, but one must engage in those spiritual activities or devotional service to be able to transform the consciousness towards the loving service of the Lord. The consciousness basically is, till the focus is us, the consciousness does not change. So this transformation of the consciousness has to take place for the Lord towards loving devotional service. And thus, from devotional service, one moves up to pure devotional service. So basically, Brahmanas have 6 activities. They do 6 activities. What are these activities? There is this Pathan. They study the Vedic scriptures. They explain it to others. So for them, Pathan, a person is called a Brahmana if he is fully engaged in the mission of the Lord, which means preaching is very important activity for a Brahmana. Then Yajan, he conducts different types of sacrifices for the benefit of the people. And then Dana Pratigraha. So Pratigraha means he has complete faith on the Lord, and and the Lord will provide. So he begs alms from others. But he's not a beggar that goes from one house to another and wants to collect as much as possible. He's not a beggar. He takes this opportunity as a preaching opportunity. So the word beggar seems to be very sharp here, but Pratigraha would mean that he takes this opportunity of going, especially to householders' houses, and takes this opportunity to preach them. Like we see that the brahmacharis and the sannyasis do that. They also go door to door. They also go from one house to the other as an opportunity to preach others. So, and dana, whatever he has collected, he donates it. A Brahmana, we might think that a Brahmana never donates. No, but Brahmana donates indirectly by what, because he's not, here it says he's without possessions, and he does not eat more than required. He controls his senses. He's not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. So he's not taking this opportunity and um, collecting whatever the householders have given him for his own benefit or for his own enjoyment. He does that. Whatever he's collected, keeping that limited to what he is needing, he distributes it in the form of prasadam distribution or book distribution, or somewhere in the process where Krishna consciousness can be um, further taken care of. So in this form, he gives back to the society what he needs. He keeps for himself the bare minimum, and he gives back and he serves the society this way. So Brahmanas are actually very dear to Krishna, and we've heard this a lot of times. We keep hearing this in all our most of our verses, that Brahmanas are very dear to the Lord. And this is through these 6 activities, he's trying, or he's participating in the mission of the Lord. And because Brahmanas have taken up the mission of the Lord, like we take up the mission of Srila Prabhupada, we will be dear to Srila Prabhupada. Similarly, because the Brahmanas have taken up the mission of the Lord, they are dear to Krishna. And what is the mission of the Lord? The Brahmanas are giving up all sorts of comforts to take up the mission of the Lord. They are dear because they have given up all sorts of comfort and living in this material world with all these beautiful qualities of being meek, humble, silent, tolerant, peaceful. These are like treasure qualities. So the Brahmanas give up all comfort to take up this mission of the Lord. And we want to see what is the mission of the Lord. In chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, what verse was that? 9? Yeah, 4:7. The mission of the Lord is, Lord himself says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijami aham. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and the predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So the Lord comes to establish or re-establish the principles of religion, where he says that in the next verse, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavani yuge yuge, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. And the Lord has many agents who are quite competent. But the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees. In the purport itself, Srila Prabhupada writes here, the Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees who are always harassed by the demoniac. The demon harasses the devotee even though the latter may happen to be his kin. So we learn from this that the Lord's mission here is basically to take us back to and to establish the religious principles. And when such a thing happens, when we become, or when we participate in the mission of the Lord, we become very dear to the Lord. And in verse in verse 18, in chapter 18, verses 68 and 69, we see that even 67, this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to the one who is envious of me. So for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. So again, I'm repeating, for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he'll come back to me. So who is he talking about? He's talking about the Brahmanas here. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So through the 6 activities of Brahmanas, and the 8 qualities of Brahmanas, and the 24 qualities which we also read in chapter 18 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, we assimilate and we collect everything, and we see that who is a Brahmana here, if we have to understand. So it's not the person who has acquired the Brahmana thread through some ritualistic processes, but a person who has, or an individual who has changed his consciousness and has moved from the material consciousness to the spiritual consciousness to the pure consciousness, to pure goodness, loving, unalloyed loving services consciousness, loving devotional service consciousness. So this person, Brahmana, must guide the society. And unfortunately, what is happening in the present day world, that we don't have Brahmanas who are guiding the society. So therefore, situations will go worse. Because we are always talking from the material context of the things. The spiritual context means the change of consciousness from material to spiritual, and then coming to the pure goodness or unalloyed devotional service towards the Lord. So this is where I'm going to stop. If there are any questions or comments or anything anyone would like to share, please feel free.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you very much for the very nice class. And in fact, we have mentioned about here 8 qualities of Brahmanas have been mentioned. And you also mentioned about Bhagavad Gita 1842, where 9 qualities of Brahmanas are being told of by Krishna. And in fact, the Brahmanas, a real Brahman is one who is in possession of these qualities. His activities is restricted to 6 activities normally Brahmanas do. Pathon, Jajan. He reads the spiritual, scriptural, Vedic scriptures, and also teaches others to help the Vedic scripture, to help others to teaches the Vedic scriptures, and he performs Jajan. He performs the ritual activities, spiritual. Pathon, Jajan, and Dan, he gives donation. At the same time, he accepts it. These are the activities of the Brahmanas. And ultimately, because they are in a mode of goodness, because that is the first quality of a Brahman. A Brahmana is situated in a mode of goodness. And by his devotional service, he tries to transcend the mode and go to the pure, in the mode of pure goodness. And that is possible. So, in Arjuna's question, Lord Sri Krishna is told in 1426, Mam chajo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena shivate shogunan samititvaita and Brahma bhutaya kalpate. So that is the that is the way one has to transcend the mode. That is the ultimate goal, because to go back to the Godhead, we have to transcend this mode of material nature.
Yeah.
And that is by devotional service. And Brahmanas knows this because of they are in a mode of goodness. So they have they tries to do that, and who has achieved it, he is a proper Brahmana, or he is called Vaishnava, in fact. And because of his mercy, he knows what is the position of the living beings who are suffering. So it helps them to transcendental mode. So that is the quality, that is, this compassion of the Brahmana is being highlighted in this verse. That's why Krishna, he is very dear to Krishna, because he helps in the by his activities, which is preached by Lord Krishna himself, so that we get rid of this material suffering and transcendental nature, and go back to Godhead. So that is my realization. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. This is such beautifully, you have put everything in one place together, bringing all connections. Yes, that's very, very, very to the point, actually. Yes, because without the mercy of Brahmanas, or without the mercy from preaching activities to serving the society, preaching activities from Patan, we see that he's not just reading for himself, he's also uh, passing it to others, teaching it to others, so that we live with the hope that there is always this hope from transforming our consciousness from one level to the other, and we can keep moving towards pure goodness, towards the unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So it's not a hopeless situation for us not to be connected to Krishna. Our connections may be contaminated at the moment, but there's always a hope. And through the association of the real Vaishnavas, we may also progress towards that path. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your wonderful realizations. Anyone else?
Hey, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for the unpacking this verse so nicely. I think in India, there's so much anti-Brahman propaganda taking place. I think that basically, I think they don't realize what are the characteristics of a pure Brahmana, as you mentioned here. And of course, the caste system is being based on birth. So there is a lot of repercussion, there's a lot of anti-Brahman propaganda taking place. Would you like to reflect? How can we correct this?
Prabhu, this is the effect of Kali Yuga. And because in Kali Yuga, things are going to get degraded. And in that degradation, we read in Srimad Bhagavatam as well in the 12th canto, that things will change not for the good, but for the worse. Now, this is also a good way to see that until we see and become frustrated in this material world, we will not be able to correct ourselves. So Srila Prabhupada has actually given us a very good program, but there's a point of reflection that how many of us are actually taking it seriously. So the people who are into this propaganda are not actually taking their devotional life seriously. So they're stuck in that caste system, or I can't comment about caste system or anything. However, I can say that the realization is all dependent on how we are connected to the Lord. If we are connected to the Lord through caste systems and the ritualistic aspects of life, which means somebody born in the Brahmana family can be a Brahmana. And this has been, so these are some of the ritualistic understandings that has been sitting in the consciousness or the mind of people, in their intelligence, that which is not worth basically. This is not connected to anything that is spirituality, or it is not connected to anything that is uh, going to transform one's consciousness to God consciousness, from material consciousness to God consciousness. So um, I do feel blessed that ISKCON is one such place, and other uh, I know of ISKCON as one such place where true study of scriptures is being, uh, you know, Srila Prabhupada has always emphasized on reading the scriptures, understanding things from sadhu, shastra, and getting those certifications that what is right and what is not right. So, coming from the political aspect and of all these things, probably if we get involved in understanding those aspects, it would be, I personally feel it would be unfavorable to the uh, it will be unfavorable in devotional, in progressing towards devotional service. However, it would be a even though, like, we've distributed Bhagavad Gita, how are we to check that how many of us are reading the Bhagavad Gita? Book distribution is a very good step, but however, reading opportunities for people and understanding, and those preaching programs, which we see that there's a lot happening in India. There's a lot outreach program. There's a lot of university programs that happen in India, and a lot of people are being educated. So ISKCON is one place where I understand that ISKCON is one place where Brahmanas can be produced. So, but provided one has to have the desire, and His Holiness Keshava Maharaj, Swam Bhagwan Keshava Maharaj, Keshava Swami Maharaj, often says that if we add spirit to rituals, it becomes spiritual. So most of us are into the rituals without the spirit, without the connection, without the actual true understanding of why we are doing what we are doing. Um, Prabhu, was that somewhat answering the comment that you mentioned?
Yes, Mother, you covered quite a bit. But India, this anti-Brahmin thing is coming because I think they're forgetting the qualities of Brahmana. But there are some rock Brahmins, and they just quote them, and all the qualities of Brahmins are being demolished. So just group-wise, they just demolish everything. But they are, as we read now, the Brahmins are the head of the body, the society. And if you don't culture them, the whole system going to go to ruin. And I think when the British came, they also tried to demolish the Brahmin culture, and it's now continuing.
Western influence, yes.
So to destroy the Vedic culture, they have to destroy the Brahmin first. And this thing is still carrying on. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we're getting the real knowledge and see who is a Brahmana and what are the qualities. So Prabhupada says one of his aim was to establish a Brahmin society so can guide the society. So I think we are in the process. Maybe it takes some time before we come to the stage, but this is in the process. Thank you.
Also, Prabhu, I just mentioned that most of us, we often consider caste, race, ethnicity, cultural background, gender, all these things into understanding the Varnashram system. But Varnashram system is more based on psychophysical nature of an individual. Like what if a person is skilled in handworks, and we is skilled in handworks and likes to make things, so that psychophysical nature is not a Brahmana, not a Vaishya, not if a person is very smart at money, money making business or money or generating money, he is so his psychophysical nature can be Vaishya. The one who's very good at hard hand work can be a Shudra. But we're considering these varnashram systems as caste systems, and therefore this confusion is taking place. For example, police has this Kshatriya qualities in them. So we do our jobs based on our psychophysical nature. We are happy in our setup of our placing in the society according to the psychophysical nature. But I think we have confused ourselves in terms of birth, in terms of caste, in terms of where we belong to in the society. And therefore, this confusion of anti-Brahmana or Brahmanas not following their uh, uh, proper activities or not having those qualities is being confused with caste, religion, and all those things.
Thank you, Mataji. I think you covered quite a bit of it. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anybody else got any comment, reflection? We still got a few minutes. But it doesn't seem to be so. End the class here. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpaduruvesya
Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyyo Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra ki
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki
His Grace Radha Padma Mataji ki
Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.
Hari Hari. Have a lovely day, everyone.
You too, Mataji.